No, you can't go in the green room. You've got to stay here.
Okay. Do you have any biscuits in here, though?
No. Talking of biscuits, we need to talk about biscuits later on. There has been an absolute furore. Oh, left the green room door open. He's not meant to be in yet. Move over there. Hello, Graeme. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm very well, thank you.
Cool. So, yes, thank you for joining us this evening or this morning or whichever time in which you are listening to this podcast, watching this podcast, etc., etc. As you notice, we've got a special guest with us on this one. We will talk about other stuff at some other point, but right now I want to talk to the wonderful, the gorgeous, the most handsome bald man that I know. Oh, no, the second handsome bald man I know, which is Graeme. How are you?
Hello, I'm very, very, very well. As I just alluded to 5 minutes ago, I'm positively buzzing right now, to be honest. Let's get those off.
Oh, my God, he's taking his glasses off. It's serious. And, of course, Malcolm's here. All right, Malcolm, how are you?
Hi, yes. Yeah, we were looking for the most handsome person in modelling, but he wasn't available, so we got Graeme instead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's in high demand. He's in high demand.
As I said when I joined the call today, it was very good to see you, looking so happy and smiling and radiant and in a warm yellowy glow.
Yeah, thanks. It's honestly great to see you again. It's been a while, but yeah.
Cool. So we need to talk about why Graeme's here, and we talk to him about his stuff.
Yeah, I think the yellowy grow. Oh God! Can I say that again? He's got a growth that's yellow. Did you know that? So the yellowy glow that he's got could be jaundice. It's not as funny once that goes.
Yellowy grow.
Yellowy glow. And I've not drunk anything other than this coffee. I promise. So yeah, Malcolm. The reason that I have dragged Graeme in is because, well, a couple of reasons actually. Firstly, we're huge fans of the Graeme. He is a third responsible for us doing a podcast.
Yeah.
And I look up to you and look down to him. Do I look down to him? No, I look up to him because I am the smallest of the three of us.
That's it.
So I look up to him. There's a sketch here.
Yeah.
But I wanted to catch up with him because someone has been really mean and dragged him, kicking and screaming, back to his shed. That's the reason why he's here, and we want to talk about the journey he's been going through. We want to talk about a bit of history, about things he's done, things that he might be doing, and things that he's really enjoyed just recently.
Ooh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, all sounds good.
Yeah.
So, why don't we kick off with what you've been doing while you've not been around? Because you've been away for a little while. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, I dipped out of the hobby probably 2 years ago now. And I mean, I say I've dipped out. I've still sort of kept a bit of an interest, and I've popped in the shed now and again for half an hour or so, but not really had the motivation to sit at the bench and build for long periods of time as I used to. And then I get sort of distracted by new hobbies, and something new will come on the horizon, and I'll just go mad on it. Loads of research on YouTube, spend a fortune on kit, do it for 2 weeks, and then go, actually, no, I prefer that other one that I was doing before. So it'll all get stuck in a cupboard and back. So I got quite heavily back into fishing. I went match fishing for quite a while. I did a full season of match fishing, which I'd never done before. I'd done fishing all my life, but I'd never done match fishing course. Well, I've done sea match fishing, but never course fishing. And I really enjoyed that. It was brilliant. Good social community around it. Catching some big lunking fish and like big nets of fish and competition and banter. It was great.
Oh, you actually caught fish?
I did, yeah. I caught a few. It was good. Never as good as the other guys on the team though, because they were like catching a lot more than me. But it was really good fun. And then I sort of the whole. The commitment to that was quite phenomenal because during the summer match season, it's pretty much every other weekend. You've got to give up a whole day to go fishing, and then it's quite expensive as well, believe it or not. It costs a fortune just to fish a match for bait and stuff nowadays, and that was getting silly. I mean, if anybody's into match fishing, you'll know if I say Todber Manor, anybody who's a match fisherman will have heard of Todber. They were pulling like 800-pound weight of fish in a match in 5 hours. They were filling like 20 keep nets full of fish. The only way you're going to catch that many fish is by chucking 150 quid's worth of bait in to get them out, and it's just mental. You can't sustain that kind of hobby. It's
my gosh, yeah, I see.
It was just bonkers. I mean, even for me, fishing at club match level, I was probably chucking 25 quid, 30 quid a week on bait and tackle and stuff. It gets quite expensive, and plus the gear is really pricey as well. You think modeling's expensive, try fishing. So I kind of sort of was getting a bit unsure about that, so I kind of decided. I came across a couple of guys who were lure fishing for perch and pike, which is
nice.
Yeah,
fun.
And so I kind of thought, oh, maybe that might suit me better. So I did a bit of research and sold all my match fishing gear, bought a nice lure fishing rod, and started doing that. But then, two of my oldest hobbies that I've been doing since I was knee-high to a grasshopper just sort of both came back to me, and that was bird watching or birding and photography. And I started doing both separately: street photography, urban photography, just general sort of snapping. And I started bird watching as well, again, quite heavily, which I've done since I was a little lad. I used to go out with my dad. And then, but I've never done bird photography. So I had these two lovely hobbies that I was getting so much out of. And then one day I just thought, actually, I wouldn't mind taking a photograph of this bird that I've just seen. So that then blossomed into another aspect of these two hobbies that I've now brought together. And that has just been amazing because, I mean, photography now, I've got so many, I've got a macro lens and all that kind of stuff. So I can do various different types of photography, which is almost like building aircraft armor. Cars, if you like. And I've got the bird watching as well, and I can just go out with binoculars if I want, or I can take my camera out. And yeah, so that's basically all consumed me over at least the last 12 months or so. I've been heavily into photography and birding and both. Not so much the fishing. I've kind of shelved that to one side because that's just taken over.
Okay. What about your camping? Can you do wild camping and bird watching and photography and fishing all at once?
Not really, no. The wild camping, that I still love it, and I would love to go, but that wipes me out for a whole weekend because by the time I've driven to the Peak District latest, whatever, hiked up a massive mountain, pitched my tent, camped on top, hiked all the way back the next day, it's 2 days gone. And my missus is wonderful. She let me do whatever I want, but I just don't feel comfortable being away from home all weekend that often. So I haven't actually done any wild camping for ages. Plus, the type of wild camping that I do when I do it is what we call. I was heading for ultralight many years ago, but I'm more sort of lightweight camping now. So anything that I take, I bring back with me. So I go and I camp on a mountaintop. We don't have fires. We just have a little stove. There's no sort of. And you carry as little gear as possible to keep you alive, basically, but comfortable. So no, I couldn't lug my big camera up there. I wouldn't even take a pair of binoculars because it's too heavy. Might take a camera. In fact, I bought my camera. I got back into photography and bought the new camera after I went wild camping again when I'd had a year or two off wild camping. Because I thought I wanted to take some landscape photographs, and since I bought the camera, I've never been wild camping again. But the camera's been the sort of crux of my life, basically, outside of work and family. A mate of mine lives in the village, and we met through photography about probably 17 years ago now, something like that. And we're pretty similar on it in a lot of ways. We're into the same kind of things, science and nature and all this kind of stuff. But we'll often just drop each other a message on a Friday night. Are you free this weekend? Do you fancy doing something? Like, yeah, what do you fancy? And we'll just pick a place on a map And we'll just go there and take some photographs. So I've been to like Knaresborough, the Hebden Bridge. Hebden Bridge is lovely, by the way. If you're ever up this way, go there. It's a beautiful place.
Okay.
As is Knaresborough and York and Sheffield and Lincoln and all these places. We just go to random places for weekends and for a day on a weekend and take pictures. It's brilliant.
It's Knaresborough, the place that's got that big aqueduct by a river and a cave.
Yes.
Isn't there a cave in Knaresborough or something with a witch in it?
There's Mother Shipton's Cave, yeah.
Right. I didn't dream that.
It's a lovely place, yeah, lovely place. It's not far from Harrogate.
Harrogate, yes, that's right.
Yeah, beautiful place. And then we went to Hebden Bridge, which was just somewhere that I'd heard of and thought, oh my God, I think Happy Valley might have been filmed there.
Yeah, it was.
Sarah Lancashire drama that was on a few years ago, which was amazing, by the way. And we just took a drive up. Wow, that's just a lovely little place. We had a lovely day up there. It was brilliant. Found a lovely coffee shop by the canal and all that kind of stuff. And that's just me and my mate. It's not even me mate. It's just me and the mate. But yeah, I've had loads of adventures since I got back into photography. And again, that's my weekend gone and the day with the missus, and we go for walks and stuff. And it's just So modeling
hobbies.
taking the backseat. It is. It's all hobbies, and it's all wholesome stuff.
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
No.
Go on, Malcolm. You've got some questions. I know you have.
I've got notes.
I've
got notes.
Okay, so in that case, I will ask you. So obviously, we've known each other for quite some time.
Long time.
Oh yeah, far too long. And I've kept in touch with you while you've been looming around, doing your birding and other bits and pieces. So, what have I done to you over the last? Is that a right question to ask? What have I been doing to you over the last couple of weeks to get you back in the shed?
Just talking to me, basically. That's all you need to do. You're just one of those people. You just start talking, and people go, "I want to listen to a bit more of that." No, in all honesty,
not believe the reaction I get from people. They run.
The thing is, you do though, and like, what was it? I think it's 7 years, 8 years we've been mates, something like that.
About 7 years.
And you know me pretty well. We've spent a lot of time chatting together, and we know each other really. And you know what makes me tick, and you also know what buttons to press. And I think I might have given you a sniff that I was thinking about getting back to the shed, and you were on it like a pit bull. And then it was just like, oh, here's a link to the Discord chat. Come and see me in the shed. Come and have a chat. Oh, there's this model it could build. And within a couple of, I don't think it took long. I think, I found the ruler that I was looking for the other day. I think it took a day or two of persuading, gentle persuasion, I might add. And I just dropped him a message and went, right, I'm going to the shed.
Cool.
And he was on straight away. Here's a link. Join me. And
I have to be honest. I have to be honest with you. Is that yes, I've been prodding and teasing and that, but the decision of going to shed was all yours.
It was, and I think it had to be. It was like when I stopped smoking all those years ago. You try stopping smoking, because you think you've got to, and it never happened until the time when I actually wanted to stop smoking, and flags went out the window. And 20 years later, I've never touched one in all that time, and it was. I think it needed to be the right time, but all the stars aligned, and it just I can't believe how quickly it took over. It got hold of me again. I started, it's about 3 or 4 months ago. I bought the Airfix Sea King, and I came in here and I was all full of like, oh, this is brilliant. It's a wicked kit. This is going to get me back modelling again. And I did an hour or two, and then there was just no enthusiasm to come back. Well, I've done 2 little 172 Airfix kits in the last 2 weeks. That's more than I've built in the last one. No, it's not. But and I'm enjoying being back here, and there's motivation. I want to get back and get the next stage done, and it's all down to him over there.
You ever seen Inception, Graeme?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, viewers at home, I'm sure, have seen Inception, and if you can imagine James being Leonardo DiCaprio, and Graeme
Need some imagination.
Well, it's a good job it's not a visual medium.
I mean, you've never seen James Skiffins and Leonardo DiCaprio in the same room at the same time, so that tells you something.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the thing. And Graeme is the other guy from the film, which I can't remember the name of, but he is the guy who puts ideas in people's heads, and then that makes them think that that's their idea, and so that's why they believe it and follow it in the film. So maybe that's what James has done. He's led you to the shed, but you've the one that opened the door to go in.
Yeah. I think it's however it's happened, however it's manifested, it has, and I'm just really glad that it has. Really.
So, what have you been building? Tell us what you've been up to.
Well, I had, like I say, started building the Airfix Sea King, and I kind of came back and I thought, well, I could just carry on doing that, but I kind of looked at, I'd still had the bits on the bench from where I got up and walked out a few months ago. And I thought, I'm a bit overwhelmed by that. So I thought, right, I'll put that back in the box. And I don't like doing this because I've done it so many times where I've started a kit and then I've gone off it and then I've started something else. And I just looked around and I had an Airfix Mustang, Mark IV Mustang, 72nd scale starter kit sitting on the shelf. And I thought, I'll just knock that up because I know it'll be a quick build. I'll get it rattled together. I'm really not bothered how it looks at the end. I'll literally build it and just chuck it in the bin. It was never planned to be anything I was going to cherish or, spend a lot of time on. I just wanted to get a kit built and painted. And I've done it. I still haven't put the decals on it, but it's there. It's painted. It's pretty much finished. And then anybody who's known me for any while, and I've been quite vocal about it, I cannot do group builds. Something about group builds has always just mangled my head, and I don't know what it is. I've never been able to work it out. It's something, it must be something about the pressure. I don't know. I did one group build that I've completed many years ago. And ever since that, I've tried and I get into it so far, and then anxiety gets me, and I just think, no, I can't do this. I don't want to do it anymore, and I'll shelve it. So I've just shied away. But we were talking one night, and somebody mentioned about a little 7-day group build that was coming up, and before I knew it, the words were coming out of my mouth, and I went, I could probably do that. And he went, what? And I had a quick look on my shelf because it was a 72nd scale build, and I've got the Airfix Stuka, 72nd scale Stuka, which I've been told is a good kit, and actually it is a lovely little. It's not perfect, but for a little cheap 10 quid kit, it's really nice. And I've been wanting to build it for yonks, and I just thought, I know it's not whatever. What are you guys building? One P48s or something?
Thunderhawks, isn't it?
Thunderhawk, something like that.
The P47, you mean?
P47s. And it's
no. So yeah, the 172nd. It's the Curtis Tomahawk.
Tomahawk, that's the one.
Yeah.
And I know it's not one of those, but James says, look, it doesn't have to be just any old 172nd kit. So I thought, yeah, I'll do this. And then I realized quite quickly that this isn't a starter kit. This is a slightly more involved build, which needs a lot more thought because it's splinter cam for a start, which is a bit more tricky to do, etc. Yeah. So, but I made a start on it, and it's there. It's almost done. It just needs. I've got to redo a little bit of paint work. I think I've managed to. Although no, it's dry. I think it's all right. I ain't got my big light on, so I can't see, but it's almost there, and I've loved every minute of it. It's been so enjoyable building it again. And one thing that I always mention, and I've said this for years, when I was doing the camo the other night, the wings were dry. I thought they were, and I masked up the splinter cam on the fuselage, but I'd already done the wings. So rather than covering it all in masking tape, I did masked off the bits I needed to, and then I just wrapped some cling film around the wings to protect them as I sprayed the fuselage. When it came to a tricky bit, I picked the wing up with the cling film wrapped around it, sprayed what I needed to spray, put it down, peeled the cling film off, and unfortunately the paint mustn't have been cured, and the cling film's gone and left an impression in the paint. Now that's right, almost at the end of a build. I was under quite a bit of pressure because I wanted to try and get it built in 7 days, but it was never going to happen. And I tend to get a bit grumpy when stuff like that happens in real life, but it never ever upsets me when it happens with modeling. I've made some monumental mistakes on builds, and I have never once got angry or demoralized or upset by it. I literally took the cling film off and went, oh, I'll have to redo that then. and just carried on, and it doesn't faze me. And that's one thing that's really weird about modeling. I can peel a whole wing of paint off with a masking tape, and I'll just shrug and just go, oh well,
chuck,
either just do it again or chuck it in the bin. It just, I've had my enjoyment out of it, and I'll get, if I'm going to repaint it, hey, I enjoy painting stuff, so I'm going to enjoy repainting it, so yeah, it's a strange thing, because I think if I'd done that in anything else, it probably would have made me angry and upset and crying and stuff. But
it's a weird hobby, isn't it?
It is.
Well, that kind of goes into one of the questions I had. Is that the process of building is the process of building models more important to you than the finished thing? And if so, do you think that's changed as your hobby career has gone on from 7 years ago?
Yeah. Yes. Excuse me. Swallow my drink. Yes. I was a lot more prolific when I first started. I built a lot more in a lot shorter space of time. In recent years, I've built a lot slower, and my productivity's been way, way down, which is part of the reason why I wanted to get these 2 70-second scale kits smashed out quickly to get just something finished on the table, because I've really struggled. I've really struggled to finish kits, because I find I enjoy the assembly. I love putting things together. But then perhaps I was getting to the painting stage and wasn't really enjoying that, or I would get it painted and then decals now, and I wasn't really feeling that. So I'd just move on to something else. And I ended up with a string of part-built kits. And I don't know if you saw the thing I did on my Facebook page a couple of years back, where I just literally went and got all my part-built kits, anything. Other than one or two, I think the big ship and stuff I kept. But most of them, anything that was part-built, that was just sitting like a monkey on my back, just irritating me every time I was in here, and I just binned a lot, just literally a big purge and just threw the lot out, start again from scratch, and that really helped. And I've got to try and avoid that now. But I'm more in the mentality now. I was talking to James about this the other night. When I finish this, what do I go back? Do I go back to the Sea King, or do I start something completely new? And so the more I think about it,
let me pick up on the Sea King, because you've mentioned, alluded to the fact you started the kit.
Yeah.
In all honesty, what you've only done is drilled a couple of holes. Yeah. So, like I said to you the other day, technically, yes, you have opened it and drilled a couple of holes, but you haven't started gluing stuff together. So you could give yourself a break and say, actually, I've not started it yet, so I'm starting afresh. I've done some prep work, but I'm not starting the build. And what we were talking about when we were talking about the 172nd was how that came about was a couple of friends of mine, Steve Spencer-Beanie, he gave me and Carl Smith and Mark Ewing a model kit for Christmas. And the idea was that we would open it at Christmas and build it. Well, that was not this year, it was last year, or the year before that, right? And one thing led to another, and we didn't actually manage to get to sit with each other and open the box and all that sort of stuff. So the idea was to celebrate the fact that, although we're 12 minutes late, 12 months late, we would do a group build, all of us. But unfortunately, Steve's in a bit of a rut at the moment with bits and pieces going on. So he didn't really want to get involved. And me and Carl were determined to do it to try and encourage him to come back. And then obviously you said, well, actually, I can do something too. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, let's do that then. That's cool. That works. And you did take my breath away when you said, I'll do a group build. I never expected that. But yeah, so your next step is realistically is going to be starting afresh on a new kit. So do you think that is going to be the Sea King, or do you think you're going to do an appetizer again?
Well, and I did think about this the other day, because you were compiling a list of your up and coming group builds, and I did think, I'm a little bit undecided as to what to do. And I listened to your podcast the other day when you said, Malcolm, that you were going to try and avoid getting into too many group builds this year and just building for yourself, which is kind of what I've always done before. But then I thought, well, if I'm a bit undecided as to what I want to build next, why don't I jump on a group build, and that'll steer me and go the other way.
Good thing about group builds is it gets you building stuff.
Yeah.
And you end up making friends because you're chatting to people all the time. And, as long as you don't get bogged down within the pressure of getting stuff done, and group building is the only thing you're doing. And that's the thing I found this year. I had loads of fun, loads of group builds, but I still got loads of kits on the shelf that I want to build, and little projects in my head that no one else is ever going to make a group build for. You got to do a year's Red Arrow diorama. Okay, it's going to take you a year. That would be a group. It's not ever going to happen. So I have to kind of break away just for this year. And then James tickled me with the group build feather duster, and I did fall over a couple of times. There's a couple of group builds that James has come up with that I'm going to join. But this year is I'm building for me just to get some space on the shelf.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I mean, my sort of stash is so varied. I can probably find something to wedge into anything. So I don't know. That's probably something we'll chat about over the weekend, James. I think, and see what I can come up with.
I think you're both right. I mean, at the end of the day, that the whole purpose of doing the group groups for me is to give a little bit of stimulus to the group. To allow someone to think maybe in some case a little bit outside the box, or something they might not approach, or to create an element of a subject matter in which they've not done. So that's the idea for me for doing the group builds. Always has been that. It's never ever been about finishing them on time, because I really do. People do, don't get me wrong, and people get quite frustrated because I've only got a week to go. I've got so much to do. Don't do that. Don't stress yourself out, because at the end of the day, the model is built once it's finished, and it doesn't really matter the time it takes you. No. If you want to try and achieve it within a certain period, then yeah, fine. But if you don't do it, no one gets hurt or injured by it, and it's very much like the whole philosophy, if you like, with the 48-hour thing is that's the start of the challenge. You start with an unbuilt kit, and you got 48 hours. Good luck. Because we were talking about this the other day, which I'm going to come on to in a second. But whether you finish it or not, it's irrelevant. It makes no difference. What's important is that you give yourself as much time to interact over that 48 hours with the hobby in a meaningful way that you need or can manage. Nothing else matters other than that. Okay. On that event, we are raising a bit of money. So, there are certain things that people will want to tune into because maybe they want to get this certain kit, or, want to see loads of money raised, or they want to buy a T-shirt or whatever, which is lovely. It's all great, but that's not really the main thing about it. The main thing is about being together and giving time to the pleasure that you get from the hobby.
It's the people. It's the people. It's the most important thing. Forget the rest of it. No matter what you're doing.
It is, and it's where I started and where I met you guys actually was back in the early days when we used to do the hangouts and stuff, and it was pretty much every day there was a hangout, and we could come and go as we pleased, and we would bump into each other and whatever. And I kind of lost that a little bit, and I've kind of realized recently that's kind of what I mean, I was saying just before we started recording, I almost jumped in the car and came down to Telford on Saturday. This year, last year now, November. I almost came down just to see you guys and a few other people, not because I wasn't modeling then, but I just wanted to come down and see some people that I haven't seen for a couple of years. And I think James put a picture up, or you did, one of you put up, and it was the M4H stand, and there was a few familiar faces around. I was like, I just want to go around and give Malcolm and James a hug. Just like it was that kind of thinking. I don't want to buy anything. I don't want to see anything. There's nothing I'm really interested in. I just want that social. And for somebody who used to be crippled with social anxiety, the thought of walking into a hall with 5,000 people for pleasure, it was bizarre. But there's something different. No, hang on. Well, the thought of walking into a venue with 5,000 people.
What venue do you go to? Get 5,000. Anyway,
but I genuinely almost came down, and it was just for that social interaction. And I think doing this group build that we just done or doing, jumping on the live streams has been great. That interaction. 20 or 30 people viewing, not even that many sometimes, but there's a bit of banter going on in the chat, and then go off on little tangents and diversions on the conversation and stuff. And I've met some new people, and I've got to know a couple of people, and it's it's just brought it all back, and that's a big part of it. It's the people, you know. As much as this hobby gets obviously sometimes put down a bit for the nerdiness or whatever, and it's far from that. It's never been that for me. It's always been about the social interaction of it. You know, when I was a stay-at-home dad and crippled with mental health problems, it was the friendships and stuff that I've made through modeling and the ability to do this kind of thing on a daily basis that kept me going, really.
There are lots of groups, aren't there, that you can join. That I'm in lots of different social circles that have their own, you know, advantages, and you know, I join one for a little while, then I'll jump over to another one. I'll be in there for a little bit, and then, you know, there's lots of things going on all the time. I think it's important to kind of keep it mixed.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, like your bench. Your bench should be mixed. You shouldn't stick to one thing. The variety is the spice of life, as they say.
That's your opinion, man.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. But that brings me really nicely on to the next question I wanted to ask. Not Malcolm too. Well, actually, Malcolm to a point, but more Graeme. I just can't get used to calling his name.
Can I just interject with a little story? I don't know if it's relevant. I'm going to say it anyway.
Okay.
When I was born, my mum wanted to call me Graeme. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, and her best friend, who's Dawn, she said, "Oh, that's a lovely name. Okay, great." But then I was born, and then a couple of weeks later, she met me, and she said, "Oh, he's lovely. Lovely. He looks just like a Graeme." And my mum said, "Oh yeah. Small thing. Oh, we haven't called him Graeme. We've called him Malcolm." To this day, she still calls me Graeme. 48 years ago. So when it's funny because this keeps coming back every time you say James, oh Graeme, oh I mean Malcolm, I mean Graeme, this all comes back to me. Anyway, carry on, James. Where are you?
I like that story. That's good. The problem is I'm going to start calling you Graeme now. You know that, don't you?
I'm used to it.
It's going to get stuck.
Well, here's a little trivial fact. If you're on that subject of strange names, my name's not actually Graeme.
Oh, you couldn't write the comedy, could you? You couldn't write it.
Well, no, that's not strictly true. My middle name is Graeme. My first name's actually Alan.
No.
But I have never been called Alan, other than like on medical forms and stuff. I've never been called Alan since I was a kid.
Mic drop.
Yeah, there's
Ow!
And I don't actually like the name Graeme. I don't like saying it. I don't like it at all. But so might as well very quickly. At 2 weeks old, in Sunderland General Hospital in 1973, I had something wrong inside of me, and they thought I was going to die. Basically, I had to go in for emergency surgery. Well, my parents were both police officers in Sunderland at the time, so the doctor came up and said, "We need to operate on this baby quickly. He might not make it through." So, although my parents aren't religious, I thought, well, it'd probably a good idea to get him christened then. So they said, "Is the hospital vicar around, the chaplain? Could he christen him?" And the chaplain said, "Yes, we can. You need a godfather." So my dad literally went out into the street to find the nearest copper that was on the beat that he knew, who was a friend of his, and he was called Graeme. So he brought him in the hospital and said, "Do us a favour, be a godfather for me kid in case he dies tonight." And this guy called Graeme, spelt the same way as me with a Scottish spelling, A-E-M-E, was apparently my godfather. I'd never seen the bloke, got no idea who he is.
Wow.
No idea, never ever seen him. So they thought, right, so they wanted to name me after my dad, when my dad's called Alan. So they called me Alan with the middle name of Graeme. But then as the time came for me to be sort of called stuff, my mother thought, well, it might be a bit confusing if I've got two Alans in the house, so we'll just call him by his middle name.
That's Graeme. That's funny.
but it gets better, right? Because having spent most of my life going around, filling an official form in, and I fill it in as Alan. And even now, I'll phone somewhere up, like an electricity company or something like that, and they'll go, "We just need to ask you some security questions. What's your name?" And I'll go, "You'll either have it as Graeme or Alan." I don't know. I can't remember which one I used. I've had bank accounts refused. I've had bank accounts. Well, no, your ID doesn't match. This is not Graeme. Oh, no, it is, but it's not. And then one day,
tell them the whole story.
My parents moved to Spain, having me hated this name. My dad and my wife are walking down the seafront, chatting away, and my dad just comes out and went, I always thought when he turned 18, he'd just start calling himself Alan.
Oh.
I don't know why he didn't.
Oh.
And I was like, well, why would I?
Yeah.
Why didn't you just call me that?
Finally, I get to call myself my own name.
So anyway, that's that. There you go.
Oh, very interesting.
Well,
Thank you, Alan.
I feel like I need to confess something, but I've really got nothing. I mean, there's lots of names people call me, but I can't repeat half of them.
You've got stuff to confess.
Well, yeah, not on this podcast, I haven't. Anyway, so back to where we started. That's right, Alan. I'm going to call you Alan and him Graham. Brilliant. Malcolm's left the room, everyone.
You've forgotten who he was. What were we talking about?
So I was going to ask him a question, of which you can answer if you wish to. Bob, or whatever your name is, I don't care.
Yep.
Oh God, yeah, get my brain back. Yeah, so okay, so you've returned to the hobby. It's been a few weeks and stuff. Now, as Malcolm has alluded to, I am very much renowned for dropping the odd bomb.
Yeah.
IED, whatever. Here and there. So my question for you is, in 2025, is there, and Malcolm, you can answer this if you wish to. I think I may have asked him already, but you can answer. Is there anything, a technique, a way to do your model making, something that you've been itching to do and never had the courage to do, that you're going to tackle this year?
Yes. 100%. And that is buildings. I want to do a building. And I spoke about this the other night because that's one of my options for my next build. I have a mini art ruined house type thing. And I took it off the shelf and looked at it again the other night. I want to build a building. Build a building? Yes, build a building, because you do build a building. Yeah, that's something that I definitely want to do. And a building / dioramas, vignettes, whatever you want to call it. Because I've only ever done one, and I want to do some more.
Is that a transit van?
What?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. See, look how good I am. See,
you're really good. And you know what? This came up on the live stream the other night, didn't it? And I think it was yourself and Carl and possibly Steve or somebody else. And I was like, I had to go to diorama once and it was all right, but I've never done one since. And they were like, all right, what are you talking about? And I'm like,
yeah,
all right, yeah, I am quite proud of it. I do really like. I am. I do look at it quite often and go, oh God. And if anybody else,
he was on a live stream, Malcolm, and he went, oh, what the transit. Going across the camera.
I did.
Oh
no way.
See, he's looking around for it now as we speak. He's looking around.
I always know where it is. It's always in my thoughts. No, I did really enjoy doing that, and that was quite a. Interestingly, that was a pressure build, if you remember, because I built the van, with a view to making a diorama out of it, and then I was asked if I would put it on a table at Telford, and I had like 3 weeks, I think, something like that. And I said, oh, well, the diorama's not built. And I was just told, well, get on with it then. So, and before I knew it, I was into it. And you know what? I absolutely loved it. I had so much fun building it. But for some reason, I've just never really had the confidence to go back and do another one. So that's the mission for this year. I don't know anybody who's half decent at building dioramas, unfortunately. So I've got nobody to look on for help. But
I've got no one I can recommend either.
If I knew a gold medal winner from Telford or something, I might be able to have a chat. Double gold medal winner, possibly. Maybe he could give us some advice. But,
which I just happen to have. No,
no, he's got it on.
I'll post a picture of it going across the screen.
I remember that year because that was when the competition room was upstairs as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
with a church, and I remember. Because obviously I'd seen the photographs of it before. And then I remember seeing you on the Saturday and we went up and had a look at it. And I was just like, man, that's awesome. And you were going, oh, yeah, but I'm not quite happy with this. And, and I just, no, that's really good. And then I walked back up there after the judging and I just like, oh, my word, See, I told you. It was that honestly, that was a superb thing. I still think about that quite often now. It was just so good. But then there's a high bar to try and meet, you see.
Well, it is when you go from the second one. But I suppose the third would be worse. So with this building, I've not said this to you before, but you might be interested to know that obviously when we were talking about you maybe doing building and dioramas and bits and pieces, you were talking about a diorama piece that was versatile, so it could be used with lots of models, etc., that you may build over a period of time. However, there is a little challenge I want to throw out to you with this.
Go on.
He does this a lot.
Yeah. Oh, did I not tell you this? It's in the script. So for Telford 2025 on the Friends for Models Heroes table is a theme of hobnobs.
Yep. Right.
Okay, so I reckon if you're very, very clever with a little bit of tweaking here and there, you could manipulate the building you make into a hobnob factory that's been bombed.
Yeah.
I've got another idea.
Oh, really? Let me hear all about your idea.
Do I want to say this publicly?
Yeah, say it, because no one will hear it. Don't worry, it's just between.
No one listens.
Well, one of the things that I talked about, because I pulled the mini art ruined house off my shelf, if you remember, and then I said, I wouldn't mind having this, just build it and maybe put a bit of foreground in there. And then if I build a tank, a World War II tank, or my little blue armored car that I built, I could just drop it on the scene in front and it would do as a little backdrop instead of using one of those little back scene things. And then I said, but I've also got the mini art European tram with the scenics that come with it. And the kit, it comes with a cobbled street and park benches and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Now the tram has advertising hoardings on it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which, all right, there's some in the kit, but I'm sure somebody could print some advertising with hobnobs on. And I know it's Europe and they didn't eat them in Europe, but I'm sure they had something similar, hobble nobbles or something. They must have had something like that in Berlin in 1943 or something.
McVitie's, don't know when they. Yeah, but you could do certainly.
But hey, it's my model.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is another option, and I mean that would be quite a big build. What's held me back off that build, because I've had that for a good few years now, and it's an amazing kit by all accounts. Typical mini art, loads of tiny bits, difficult to clean up, but apparently it goes together pretty well. I just can't decide what to do with it. Do I do it nice and pristine, as it would be running? But I've got an idea. I want to do it all bombed out and but that is a lot of work and it's a big risk on a kit that size for me to start chopping that up.
Whichever way you go, you'll enjoy making it, because you could at the end decide whether you're going to make it bombed out.
No.
I've got the talking stick.
No,
you've got the conch.
Sit back, Alan, John, whatever your name is. So, actually, no. I tell you what you need to do with that is to do all of what you just said on one build.
What?
Okay, so you've got a tram from Mini Art, which I'm assuming is the passenger tram. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, and in that kit you've got a base, so it's a cobbled street with tram lines, and you've got your overhead wires, pieces, whatever.
Yeah.
You don't know whether to do it pristine or bombed out.
Oh, you're going to tell me to do a half and half build, aren't you?
Oh, I can't believe you thought of it. Oh, that's a really good idea, Graeme.
Oh.
Just watching
match fishing. Honestly, you don't need to spend £25, £150 on bait. Honestly, come do some fishing with me. I'll teach you to do it for free.
Did you just witness a successful strike there?
That was a hook, line, and sinker.
How big was the model that you caught? Well, it was 7 foot tall.
It was at least. Depends in which period you're talking about. Some of it was this big, and the other bit was that big.
It's a good idea, though. You do get the best of both worlds, so it's a good idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for that, mate.
That's all right, mate. I can tell by the look on your face that that's a keeper, so that's good. So, talking of challenges, is there any other challenges in which you're setting yourself for 2025?
Well,
now you throw yourself right under the bus. You might as well just carry on crawling.
Somebody's roped me into another challenge, haven't they?
They've thrown you under the tram.
Snuck that one up on me. Snuck that one up on me. Yeah, so I, for the first time, I'm going to take part in the 48 and 48.
For the first time?
Yeah, I've never done it before because it's a group build.
Now, hang on.
Thing.
Let's go back a couple of steps. Someone did ask you to get involved, and what did that person ask you to do?
No, you didn't. You see, what you did was you went fishing, right, and you put a big juicy maggot on the hook, right? But the maggot was massive, right, and the hook was tiny inside, and it was really well hidden. You'd hooked it to perfection. I mean, there were match fishermen who would have been really proud of how well you presented that bait, because, as I've mentioned a couple of times, this stuff that we're doing now, chatting on the internet waves, whatever they're called these days, I love it, and I always have loved it, and you all know that I love this stuff, and he knows that I love this stuff. So he said, "Mate, I've got a question for you. I'm not asking you to build anything or anything, but I could do with an extra host for the 48 and 48 for the English sort of contingency. Do you fancy doing a bit of hosting for me? You don't have to build anything. Just come on and do your stuff. Just do some hosting." And I went, "You know what? Yeah, I'd like to do that. I'd really enjoy that."
Yeah.
And then the hook got me and went, well, I might as well build something while I'm there, hadn't I? I was in the net. Being held up for a photograph.
I never said anything about you building. I was very specific, actually, in saying that I just need a host. I got loads of builders. I just need a host. Someone can take the pressure off.
You knew what you were doing. No, you knew what you were doing.
Continuous people.
Yeah, while you're here in your shed.
Yeah, you might as well just stick some plastic together.
Oh, well, in that case, if you're going to build something, do you know what you're going to build yet?
Do you know what? I don't. I won't be an aircraft because it's a bit too involved. I'll probably have a go at a 48 scale Tammy or something like that. It's fairly easy to knock together, just so I can just enjoy it. Really, I've only built one Tamiya before, the 48, and I think it went in the bin. Something happened with the paint. The paint reacted under the clear coat for some reason. Under my matte coat, it just all crackled and the whole thing just went. It was a Tiger one. It was a lovely little kit to build as well. But something went wrong with the paint. I was trying to do it winter camo, and I literally put a matte coat over it, and for some reason all the paint just went. I don't know why. Still don't know why to this day. I think I may have mixed my thinner with raw cellulose thinner rather than MLT. I think probably just a bit too hot. That's the only thing I can think of that's done it. Although I did see somebody on a Facebook group or something, or was it somebody in one of the live streams that said that something similar had happened to them? No, I think it was a YouTube video I was watching. He said that something happened and he didn't know what it was. Maybe just a weather thing. I don't know. But anyway, that's the only one I built, but I really did enjoy it. It was nice and easy to do. Bit of armor, and if I've got a bit of time, I could always put a few weeds behind it or a tree or something. Might have a go at getting some wire out and making a little armature tree or something like that. I don't know. I'll see, but that's probably what I'll go for. Something vanilla, straight down the line, nice and easy.
Yeah, something you'll enjoy, and you can focus on chatting to people as well at the same time.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the key. That is the key to it, Malcolm. Definitely is to not overload yourself with a project. And like I was saying to Graeme the other day, is pick something that's nice and easy that you may, with a fair wind behind you, get finished before the 48 hours. And then if you want to tinker doing a base, and because that's what a lot of the guys have learned over the years, that's the way to do it. Get something that you can really put together and get painted, and then tinker after that if you wish to. Have you got anything lined up? I saw you moving the box around.
I was getting lined up ready from when I got asked.
Well, Malcolm, do you know what you'll be doing on the 48-hour build?
No idea. I ain't got a clue.
Okay.
But I could, if I wanted to, build one of these. So we did the Dutch 48, didn't we?
We did,
With models for vets, and I started that one because which is the Cold Wind one by Masterbox, and it's just 5 guys, right? Two simple sprues. I wasn't able to do the full 48 hours. I had to do other things on that weekend, so I knew that I was only going to have time for a tiny thing. So I could either have a tiny kit, get it painted as well, or build 5 figures, get them cleaned up really nicely, ready for when I do have the time to paint them. So my 48-hour build with the Dutchies was just to build it, basically, which I did. And they're sitting over there waiting for some paint. But the one that I'm going to do for the 48 and 48 is this Tamiya 148 German motorcycle and sidecar. So it's going to be difficult enough that it's got lots of bits and bobs in it. Yeah. So looking at the picture, you're like, oh my god, it's going to have loads of axles and brackets and sprockets and angles and hinges and bits and whatevers. But it's literally one sprue.
Yeah.
So I can make a nice little display base. I haven't bought it yet, but I'll get myself a nice whacking bit of nice wood with a baize base, obviously. Yeah, nice and soft to the touch. And then I'll make it a snow scene or a grass scene, or I'll make it to it's jumping over a cow or something. I don't know. But that's quite a simple thing. It's quite a simple one sprue business. Yeah, fun. It's just fun. Cool, you know. I don't even think I would ever want to even do like a 48 scale aircraft. I want to do something small, easy, and
nice,
fun.
easy and simple.
Yeah, and if it all goes, udders up, then I can, turn it into just like a blown up sidecar, splashed against a wall or something, or I don't know. Change it. Doesn't matter. And those kits are only a tenner, if that.
Yeah, it's a good choice. I did that one last year, or year before, I think.
You did it in a barn, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I did it in a picture frame in a barn. It's still not finished, actually. Fun enough, it's up there, but it will be done.
Cool. That's my plan.
Yeah, I haven't actually chosen anything yet. But for the Dutch's 48-hour one that we did, I actually did a 1/16 figure, which I absolutely loved doing. It was just so enjoyable because it was a kit. It came in parts, like 3 or 4 parts, but it was lovely, and it was done the base and all that and the other. It was I didn't really think that hard about it, but I had managed to figure out a way of doing it, which made it a little bit more fun and interesting. So yeah, I don't know. I sort of stuffed myself.
That one from that, is it Crazy Figures or whatever they call it? What's that company that
3D Gizmo.
3D Gizmo. I knew there was some kind of crazy word in there. Gizmo's a crazy word. In my head. I knew. Yeah,
it's the Russian sniper by a fire during moonlight.
Okay.
Because why wouldn't you? Crazy.
It turned out all right. That
it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad.
Right?
It's not. No. I'll quantify the reason I say that is because I know quite a few people, and I badger them with pictures and please give me advice and stuff. And there were a few elements that were pointed out to me that weren't quite right, and that I could improve upon, etc., which I haven't done yet, but I will do. But yeah, it was a learning curve. The whole point was it was something I'd never done before. It was complex in what I was trying to achieve, but it was simple as in putting the stuff together, etc. So it was just more about sitting and taking your time and thinking about what it is you're trying to achieve and etc. Which was really phenomenal for me, because normally I'll build this 1.8 biplane while building a house that it smashes into with a cow flying in the opposite direction.
Yes, I think what you set out to learn about doing that object source lighting technique, didn't you? And you did. Yeah. You learned loads by doing. That's the only way you're going to learn in this hobby, is by doing stuff. You don't learn by watching the videos, and you don't learn by reading books. You learn by getting the kit in front of you and messing it up a couple of times.
And I
that's
think
how you learn.
That's one of the reasons. Because I mean, I don't mind revealing this because I think I dropped him under the bus earlier. But Graeme was one of the two people that were in a hangout when we were talking about the group builds for the model officers mess, and we were talking about the stitch up build and all that sort of stuff. Realistically, the 48 hour, the one thing I would say about the 48 hour, the fact you're under a little bit of time pressure and you're doing something different and something new is actually quite beneficial. Maybe not to everybody, because I'm sure it might not work for everyone, but for me, it seemed to work really well because I was under that bit of pressure, bit of time pressure, and the fact I'd done a little bit of research beforehand, so I knew where it might go. Yeah, that there was an element of unknown because I asked people to tell me what to do. But I'd done a bit of research and I thought, well, okay, yeah, literally it's the case. The only way I'm going to learn how to do this is by doing it. So now I'm going to do it. And I really enjoyed that. So I wouldn't mind actually replicating something like that myself for the 48 hour, but I don't know what that entails yet. But
we'll see.
Yeah, anyway, we've gone off on a tangent.
We will see.
That's cool. So you're back in a hobby. Obviously, the other hobbies are still there. You're still doing stuff. We've roped you into some stuff and set you some challenges. So that's really good. One thing I wanted to touch upon was obviously we alluded to it at the beginning of this particular episode where we both, Malcolm and I think I'm right in saying this, you were a third of the reason why we got into doing podcasts in the first place. Is that an itch in which you feel you need to tickle or
have been tickling?
Or where are you at with that? Because or maybe it's something in which you've tickled and you've had your relief from it.
No, definitely not. I definitely need to tickle that spot a little bit more. We've talked in our little chatty group about potentially exploring something a little different from the norm. And I've actually had some really good ideas. Well, I think they're good ideas. I've had some thoughts about that in the last few days. I think we mentioned on the stream the other night, didn't I, that I was missing it. And I just want to get back. For as long as I can remember, I've always done some kind of broadcasting, whether it be podcasts, YouTube, going way back to, if anybody remembers an app that used to be around years ago called Audio Boo, which is now called Audio Boom and is actually a podcasting platform. That started out as a little thing called Audio Boo, and it was like a social network, and you could have like a free account where you could have, I think it was 3 minutes of airtime a day, or you could pay for various levels of like accounts, 10 minutes or an hour. And there was this community built up around it, because I tried doing a written blog many times, but back then using WordPress and trying to edit and make photos fit, and you got to learn a bit of code, and I just couldn't do it. But I wanted to get my thoughts down and stick them out publicly. And then through some people I know on Twitter, or knew on Twitter back then, I just sort of saw this Audio Boo thing pop up, and I looked at it, and literally it was almost like a social network where you would just record some audio, press upload, and ping, it would go up on this network, and then loads of people could look at it and listen to it. And this community started up where, so I might just switch my mic on and just say a load of words, and then somebody else would listen to it and then reply to me, and that could be like a day or two later, and then someone else would pick up and they'd reply. So you had all these like asynchronous conversations going on, and it was all done through the medium of voice and audio. And then there was various challenges with music challenges and those kind of stuff where you would like record music for a week or something like that. And it was just brilliant, and I loved it. And that all sort of died out. Audio Boo turned to Audio Boom, and they went chasing the bigger podcasts, because podcasts weren't really a thing then. It was just emerging. And then it all sort of phased into bigger podcasts and this kind of thing. And then, of course, the YouTube thing came along, and I started doing the modeling YouTubes and the wild camping YouTubes and all this kind of stuff. And I love doing that. And I've done a couple of fishing ones, photography ones, and little shorts. And then I did my own podcast, and I loved that. I loved that so much. And I do want to do it again. I really do. In some way, shape, or form.
I imagine a lot of people would have listened to Scale. Was it Scale Model Shed? Wasn't it?
Scale Model Shed, yeah.
No, Scale Model Shed. Certainly in the UK, as it was a UK podcast, and you did 5 episodes.
I think we recorded 9, published 8. I think I might have recorded 8, published 7.
Okay.
And the last one didn't get published, unfortunately.
That's a good 6 months work, nearly a year's work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was brilliant. I absolutely loved it too. Yeah,
Thank you. It was great fun to do. It really was.
Is it still up? Is it still available?
I didn't think it was, but I got a random message a couple of months ago from somebody who said, "Oh, I've been listening. Are you doing any more shows?" And I'm like, I didn't think it was available. And I think he said he'd found it on Apple Podcasts or something. Okay. But I thought it had all gone, it had all disappeared. I certainly didn't take anything down. It was all left there. But I think because I can't remember what the platform was I used now. I think because the subscription lapsed, I think they pulled the plug from their end, but I guess it's probably still floating in the ether somewhere.
Yeah. So once it's uploaded to Spotify, Amazon, or iTunes, and it's going to stay there indefinitely.
Yeah, maybe.
Go look for it. Scale Model Shed. It's brilliant.
The problem is that somebody on YouTube, I'm going to have to say it, innocently used the same name. There is a channel on YouTube called Scale Model Shed. And the guy
That's a good name.
Yeah,
it's a good name.
Because we were still going when that started, which was a little bit frustrating.
Yeah.
But
this is a Scale Model Shed. So
yes, I'm in a Scale Model Shed. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to do, and we had a really good time, and we did get a lot of really good feedback. Even now, like, you know, and it is humbling to hear people say that. I dropped somebody a message the other night, or I mentioned somebody when we were doing a stream the other night, and I said I admired his work, and he actually sent me a message. I won't name him because I don't want to embarrass the guy, but he sent me a message just saying, you know, I really appreciate what you said about me work tonight. And he said, I don't really, I feel a bit uncomfortable taking praise off my peers. And I get that. I totally get that. But as much as it's humbling and some a little bit embarrassing and squeamish, it really does boost your motivation a lot when people say, you did that. And I think I really like it. Whether it be a model kit you built, a podcast you produced, a show you've done, whatever. And, you know, there are various people who've now gone on to do really big podcasts, and they say, this is what started it. It was you guys. And we're like, wow. It's amazing, really, to think that just 3 of us sitting in our sheds just managed to make such an impact on people. It's amazing. And which makes it all the more reason why I would like to get back to it if we can.
Awesome.
And I think also the, you know, what you touched upon there was when you see something that inspires you or promotes a hobby to yourself a little bit more, or opens another level to the hobby, you really should take the time and trouble just to reach out to people and tell them that, because it does make such a massive difference to people. You know, there's lots of model makers out there that I watched for quite some time. I've interacted with a couple of times, got to know them over time as well in some cases, and I try my best to always say to them, your work blows me away, or you don't realize how much of an impact that is, or, you know, it's good feedback, always good feedback. So you should take the time and trouble, guys.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of you only got to log into Facebook or anything like that. There's a lot of negativity around sometimes, and I think just to reach out to somebody and say, you know what, mate, that's really, really good. And it doesn't matter whether that's somebody who's just done their first build, or Martin Kovac. You know, everybody deserves that praise, and if they've inspired you to do something, that gratitude as well, because hey, mate, you know, it's like you do with me. You drag me back in here or whatever, however we want to, you know, make a joke out of whatever, but genuinely that's you that's done that to a degree, And obviously I'm grateful for it. And it's, you know, and it's not just you as a person, although you are lovely and gorgeous, but the quality of stuff that you turn out, for you to be saying you should be back here doing this more because you've got some talent, that's a big thing to hear somebody say to you, somebody, you know, double gold medal winner telling you that, you know, he thinks you've got some skill. It's like it you know, I'm feeling uncomfortable saying this, but genuinely it makes me feel really good. And that drives me to think, well, you know, maybe I should put that talent to use. If it is a talent.
I think at the end of the day, a little thought process that was whizzed around my head when you were talking about model sheds and stuff is I don't see this room as a model shed. I see it as a thought emporium.
It's not a shed, is it? It's a room.
It's a room.
Well, it is a room, yes. It's
not
not
in
a
shed. No, you're not in shed club. We're in shed club. No, exactly. We're in shed club.
Well, mine's not shed anyway. It's a thought emporium, I'll have you know.
Thought emporium.
Because it is. You know, with. I was talking. Who was I talking to about this at Telford? Rob. Robert Lane. Robert Lane, is that right? Have I got that right?
Mm-hmm. If it was Robert Lane, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it was Robert Lane I was talking to. We were talking about model making and what we find, me and him, in what we do and all that sort of stuff, and what we think everyone else gets from it. And one of the things that we were talking about the story. You know, what's the story? And so many people don't realise that even if it's an object, I've got a golden nut in my hand, as it happens. It's not because I'm trying to get my nuts out in every episode when I say that, but it's because this thing, I still haven't sent it. I know, I'm bad. It will go.
What?
But this, I know, confession. Yeah, you were right. There was a confession that needed to be said. I've said it, done. Let's move on. Anyway, this is a thought. Yeah, it's only a walnut that's gold, but it is a thought. You know, it's an inspiration. It's something that's made someone either laugh or go, "What idiot put that on my table?"
Yeah.
Or why does he always keep talking about nuts? That's all it is. It's just something, an inanimate object, which is easy for me to say, which can provide inspiration and aspiration. And that's all the model is. So why don't we make models and tell a story? And which is what we do. So, you know, a dioramist, I keep banging on I am, tells a story with a diorama, but you don't need to make a diorama to make a story. You just need a model, something that tells a story. You can tell a story with a single figure or a single object. You just need to put your thought process in and hope it translates. So I've gone off on a tangent. I don't know why, but I did.
What's the story behind that particular nut, though? Is it a story of...
Well, this particular nut is named Alan. And Alan likes to be by himself an awful lot. He doesn't fall out with the other nuts, in fairness, but he does like to be by himself quite a bit. And he likes to sit and think about what he could grow into if only given the opportunity.
If only someone would send him to the place that he's supposed to be going.
If only someone would put him somewhere useful so he could grow in yeah, let's move on. I think we've worn that one out.
Send that bloody nut.
Honestly,
you are ordered to.
I've got a box over there, and I'm going to stick my nut in that box in a minute. No, that's probably the right receptacle. Anyway, while I look for my box for my nuts, Malcolm, was there any questions in which you haven't said that you wanted to ask?
Yes. Why do you listen to James ever? Is my first question. But you don't have to answer that. The second question is, you and I had a conversation about trains probably a year ago, 2 years ago, about railways.
Yes.
And I think you had an interest in railway stuff for quite a while. And then with your new job role that you had at the time, that was involved in the railways. So you did talk about having a railway in the shed.
I did.
Is that?
I did. And actually,
still a thing?
Behind me, I've got a plank of wood, which is 3 foot long, maybe, and about 18 inches wide. That has got some double O gauge track on it with some points and a little loco or a couple of little locos and a few wagons.
Right.
And that's what's called a shunting layout, or sometimes known as an ingle nook sidings. And basically it's a puzzle. It's supposed to be played as a puzzle. So I can't really show it because if I pick it up, it'll fall off. It's not even pinned down. But effectively, it's just a bit of track with some small sidings coming off of it. Right. And the idea being that you have 5-6 wagons, and the wagons are numbered, and you have 5 or 6 bits of paper with numbers on, and you basically deal out, shuffle the numbers, deal them out. So then you have to organize the wagons into 6, 3, 2, 4, 1, and then send them out on the main line. And that's the idea. And you have to do it in as few moves as possible, form the train up, and drive it out. And you can literally build it on a 3-foot board, and it just sits there. Now, my young lad comes down and he plays with that now and again. He enjoys just shunting backwards and forwards, and he'll sit and play with it.
Is it all powered in? Is it?
Yeah. Oh. It all runs off a normal Hornby motor. It's not a Hornby, but it's you control the speed and all the rest of it. There's no scenics on it. It's not even, the track's not even pinned to the board. It's just literally there on a bare bit of board. So yes, I have. Also, I was gifted by a friend I used to work with who decided he was giving up model railwaying, and he gifted me a 009 layout, which is 6 foot by about 4 foot, and he gifted me the whole thing. That's in my garage. It needs some work done to it. There's a couple of bits of track that don't work. It needs some rewiring done. But it's there. It's currently under a blanket and mothballed until I can motivate myself to do the work on it. However, I have recently been thinking about doing a small layout, and this is where the building thing comes into, because if I can learn how to do buildings better, I can build a railway better. I have looked at doing a very simple, small N-gauge railway. Using something called Kato Unitrack. There's a Japanese manufacturer called Kato, and they basically sell the track, but it's already got the sleepers and the ballast and everything attached to it. The points, everything, it's all wired in. Literally, you just buy whichever bits of track you want. They all click together. There's no wiring to do, apart from routing the wires underneath the table, but that's easy. And the switches all come in the kit and everything's there. So there's no complex wiring and that kind of stuff to do, which is always when the last 2 occasions when I've tried to build a model railway, I've fallen foul of, because all of the wiring and stuff, I'm not that way minded. So I think if I was going to do something, I would use Kato Unitrack. A friend of mine who is a signaller in my local signal box that I speak to regularly because of my job, he's built a layout out of Kato Unitrack, and it looks really blooming good, really good. So I am toying with the idea.
Cool.
Yes, that was a long-winded answer to that. I could have just said there are, but
but we can edit it all down, don't worry.
But that would be an N-gauge, which is a lot smaller, a lot neater, and it would just be DC. I'm not bothering with DCC sound and all the rest of it this time.
When you were talking about buildings earlier on, I thought, trains and stuff like that. You definitely need the skill. I mean, you can make them out of paper, obviously, but
well, there's a company called Metcalf who make cardboard figures, cardboard buildings.
Sorry, James, you're all right.
Yeah, no, you mentioned paper and model in the same terms.
You were having a stroke.
In fact, I would suggest. I don't know what actual scale N-gauge is. I think it might be 1/86, something like that.
148. 1448, isn't it?
Or is it? I don't know. If somebody could Google that, that'd be wonderful. But if anybody wants a little fun project to do over a weekend, jump on Amazon or online model shop, or pop into a model railway seller if you've got them, and pick up a Metcalf building kit. They come with a flat pack, and they just pop out a cardboard. All the details on there. You get little acetate sheets for the windows, even little curtains to cut out a piece of paper, and you just stick them together with a white glue, with a bit of cardboard glue, and they're such good fun to build. And although they're flat because they're just printed sheets of brickwork and roof tiles and stuff, you can actually make them look quite good, especially if you're standing back on a model railway layout 3 foot away. They look good. You can weather them, and you can, as long as you don't go mad and slash loads of water and chemicals on them. but they do, but they're just great fun to build. And I've built quite a few. They're good fun, and that's really what I want to do. Maybe not Metcalfe ones, but some of the little plastic kits you can buy for buildings nowadays are fantastic.
Yeah, they certainly are. Yeah, the Metcalfe ones are fun. I always recommend those out to people who want to do something that's other than plastic, because it's a bit more accessible with regular hobby or craft tools.
Yes,
you find at schools or activity centres and things. You just need a bit of cut out, and you need just PVA glue.
Yeah,
and the patience
and
of
the
a
scale
saint,
is,
to be honest.
And the scale is as Malcolm said, it's 1/48.
1/148.
Yeah, tiny.
Engage. Yeah,
weenie.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to make buildings, all you need is card. Don't need any more than that.
And a knife.
Well, yeah, a knife and the glue, and
and
time and patience, bit of intuition,
and a ruler,
and a box of plasters,
a pencil, maybe.
Yeah.
Box of plasters. Local hospital on standby. God, do you remember when we started the paper build in lockdown?
No. La.
Oh, sorry, it's trigger warning.
Honestly, do you know what? Funny enough, when I was revamping my room, which I have mentioned, but I have discovered behind me, in a corner of shame, is some paper models.
Oh wow, the hurricane one that you were going to put up.
The hurricane one is in the cupboard. I've not thrown it away or set light to it. But I do have a Spitfire, a Messerschmitt,
built.
And I might even have a Horsa glider
built.
No,
okay.
They're paper.
All right.
The only time I will touch a paper model ever again is to move it from one part of the shelf to the other, or in the bin. There will be no glue, scissors. No.
It sounds like Graeme might be building up to running his own paper goat build. Build them an engaged building. That'd be quite good.
Yeah.
Then everyone could send you their engaged building. Yeah. And you'd have a little story.
I'll tell you what, twice in the last sort of 7 days or so, Mikey Bearded Veteran said that he doesn't actually build layout, but he does do little sort of railway vignettes. So you just get a bit of track and a loco and weather them up and all the rest of it. And he was saying he's found some old kits that actually build up old Airfix loco kits, which I've heard about those, but I've never seen one. They sound like they could be good. So he does that, which is quite a good idea. And actually, we're going through some changes at work, and one of my new boss, we had some. My old boss had some live steam locos in his office. You know, you put meths and boiling water in and stuff, and they chew and they thing and they run, and that's been passed on to the new owner, and they have my new boss has actually put them on a piece of track with ballast and in a little presentation box, and it looks wonderful just sitting there on the shelf. You know, what's that you're showing me? Oh no, that's an Airfix kit, isn't it?
That's an Airfix kit. This is the Lone Star.
As if by magic.
Oh my word!
By magic. And it comes with a bit that goes on the back.
You mean a tender?
Oh no, it was less than a tenner.
You wouldn't think you worked on the railway, would you? that look. I mean, obviously, you know, I'm a fair way away from you. 100 miles or so, but that
100 miles, yeah, it looks really good 100 miles away. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, actually, do you know what? I have to say, it's an old kit. It is the Lone Star. Is it 00 gauge? Maybe I don't know. Yep. But it's a kit, and the instructions are dire. Like, oh my god! However, it goes together really, really well. Like, it actually fits together. Stuff fits together. Like a little bit like the Sea King, where they're meant to. If only the instructions would tell you where you actually put it. But it was a great kit. Not a lot of money. About 10, 15 quid, maybe.
I might have to explore that.
Although
I like diesels, though. I'm not into steam. I want a diesel.
No, they do diesels.
Oh, do they? Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I don't know if Airfix per se. I know whatever the company is. There is a company out there that does them. Yeah, definitely.
Right. Okay. I will
Definitely.
speak to you about that over the weekend because that could be right up my strata.
Well, it just so
Anything
happens
that
I might have some paints for you as well that could go with it. But
Because I work with diesel, I drive diesels. That's my job. I'm a diesel man. I'm not really into steam at all. Vintage old diesels, class 08s, class 20s, 37s, 47s. I'm not a train spotter at all. I work with them, and I've worked with them for 6 years, and I love them.
Graeme, you're a train spotter, a bird watcher, and a model maker. You're all three.
Yeah,
anything.
The top three coolest of hobbies.
If my missus ever decides to leave me, my Tinder profile is going to be shocking. I'm going to stand no chance, am I? I build models, I chase birds around the forest, and I like trains. Yeah, swipe right or left, whichever way is the way to chuck in the bin.
I don't know which way you're supposed to swipe.
I've got no chance. Nick, if you're listening, please don't leave me, darling. I love you.
We had a snowboarder on here once. It was real nerd. Do you remember, Martin?
Yeah.
Oh,
God, yeah.
So embarrassed to talk about his snowboarding with everyone.
Wow, snowboarding, that's cool.
Oh, I know that's the irony. So
sorry.
Yeah. And he was a good one as well.
Sorry.
Funny, he was a good one. He now teaches it apparently. Among other things that he does.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Okay. Any other questions, Malcolm?
Yeah, I have another question. I wonder if it's cool to talk about social anxiety a bit.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, when I met you, the last thing you mentioned it here. When I met you, the last thing you'd want to do is go to Telford, meet hundreds of people at once, and now you missed it. You know, you wanted to get involved in it. Do you think that's down to the people in the hobby? Do you think that's down to just the therapy and the time that you've spent thinking about it all the time and getting over it? Not getting over it, but coping with it in different ways. Do you think the hobby has helped that? I'd be really interested.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, absolutely. To beyond all recognition, it's responsible for my whole life at the minute. Honestly, my job, everything, my career is all down to modeling. And I can, if you want me to spend the time, I can explain how that all fits together. But genuinely, it's modeling that's put me where I am now, and it's totally turned my life around massively.
Because I think a lot of people listening would be very keen to know that story. Yeah, if you were willing to. I'm
more than happy. I mean, I've told this several times on several platforms and whatever, so I'll try and keep it as concise as possible. But I've never been a modeler. I had a couple of Airfix kits when I was a kid, but they would have just got chucked out my bedroom window to see if they would actually fly. I never did it. Never. I sort of maybe wanted to, but my dad never did it. No, I didn't have any parents sort of encourage me or anything like that. I was a stay-at-home dad. I'd had my own business. I was fixing washing machines and stuff for Hot Point. My wife's a teacher. She's on a big career path. So when we had our second child, we decided that it made more sense for her to carry on with a career. And rather than doing the childcare thing and all that kind of stuff, it made more sense for one of us to stay at home. So I said, yeah, no problem. Way back in the 80s, my dad, he picked up an injury quite badly, and he ended up being quite badly injured for quite a few years. So he stayed at home and looked after me and my brother while my mum went off and did a career thing. So it's nothing unusual for me for a stay-at-home dad. It's a natural thing. So I had no problem with it. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Oh, no. I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I had 5, 6, 6.5, 7 years of looking after the kids, and it was great. And, it was brilliant. But living on one income, as difficult as that is from just a financial point of view, I mean, we weren't claiming any benefits for anything like that. Just the fact that I wasn't, and there was never any pressure from my wife. We never fell out over anything like that. But the fact that I wasn't contributing to the household in any other way than looking after the kids or cooking and all the cleaning and stuff, I did everything. it started to eat away at me. Now, I think I've always had some kind of anxiety, mental health problems. Thinking back to when I was a child, I can remember things that had happened, and looking with the adult eyes, yeah, that was anxiety. That was what was causing that. But being at home and not feeling like I was contributing got me, and it really got me hard.
Yeah.
And I started to go downhill quite quickly. I didn't know it at the time. I did the typical blokey thing, and no, I'm all right. I know what I'm doing. And I was just not a nice person to be around. I was getting angry at the missus all the time. I was getting angry at the kids. I just wasn't a nice person to be around. And it was all because of this and the fact that I wouldn't do it. And then I move away from that sad stuff onto the happier stuff. So as my little boy, our eldest boy now, he's now 18 almost. So it must have been his 10th birthday. And we'd ordered this massive Lego kit for him, one of these big Ninjago castle things. And it was the day before his birthday, and it hadn't arrived. And obviously I was at home. My wife phoned me and said, "Has the parcel come?" And I said, "No." She went, "Well, we're going to have to get him something else. We can't just not give him any." Oh, he obviously had some other little bits, but this was his main present. She said, "Just get him something else." And I was like, "What?" And she just went, "I don't know, anything." And I said, "What?" She went, "A model kit." Now, if you speak to her to this day, she won't know what she meant by a model kit. That was just something that came off her. And of course, I went back to 7 years old, sitting at the kitchen table with an Airfix kit that my granddad had given me for my birthday. And that's what I thought about. So I jumped on the internet, Hobbycraft, Chesterfield. They sell them. I'll go and buy one of those. And as I was driving up, I thought, "Tell you what, I'll buy two. And then I'll build it with my lad."
Wow.
And that was it. It was supposed to be a group build with my boy. But of course, by the time I got home, knock on the door, this massive Lego kit turned up. So on his birthday, he was presented with this little red box with a Focke-Wulf 190, FW190 on the front that he didn't know what the hell it was. And it was about that big. And then this massive box of Lego Ninjago. So you can obviously tell what a 10-year-old wanted to build. So I said, "Don't worry, mate. You go and do that. I'll go on YouTube and see if I can get some tips on how to build a model."
Yeah.
Now, I've not got a little white fluffy tail, and I don't bang my back legs around, but I know how a rabbit feels because I went down its hole. I just disappeared. Oof, gone. And that was it. I watched it. There was a guy on YouTube. I don't even know if he's still going. There was a guy on YouTube building that kit. I watched the build right the way through, and I went, "Right, okay, I can do that." And then I watched another video, and another video, and another video. And before I knew it, I'd started building models. And I just sat in the table in my guest room, and I came downstairs one night, and my missus just went, "You enjoying that?" I said, "Yeah, it's good." And she went, "You're a different person when you come out of that room." And I kind of just laughed and went, "Yeah, whatever." And then I started thinking, and I realized that when I was feeling anxious, when I was feeling depressed, if I went and sat at my bench and stuck some plastic together, or whacked some paint on and chatted with people, I felt so much better and everything had gone. And as soon as I realized that was my therapy, and Nick realized that, and we were like, "This is what I need to do. This is working for me." And as I say, I jump into hobbies and out of hobbies, but this was something that I just kept going. And within a few months, I had this built.
Yes.
I didn't go into it by half. I've got a 10-foot by 12-foot summer house in the garden just for me to build models in.
Yeah, I know. That inspired mine.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just, it all snowballed. And, obviously, as you know, how can we build it? Because I still only had one income. I was still only a stay-at-home dad. Can we do it for this much? Oh, hard to know how much a shed cost. It cost a lot more than we thought. But that's when this all started getting serious then, that I was coming in, and I was coming in here every day after I'd sorted the kids out and done the cleaning and cooked the dinner for the night, or whatever. I was coming in here, and there was a network of people that I could just jump online and chat to. So I'd be chatting, I'd be building, I'd be forgetting all of the horrible stuff that was going on in my head. And then by the time I'd finished, kids were coming in from school, Mrs. was coming in from work, I was cooking dinner, I was sitting on the sofa watching telly with her. And life was good. Life was good. And for the most part, life was good. The only thing that I still couldn't do was go to a pub couldn't do that. Social things just scared the hell out of me. I'd gone to places, driven fairway, gone to places to meet people or even just go shopping. And I'd just get in the car park and just couldn't get out the car. I don't want to go in there where all those people are. Just horrible, horrible feelings of, I mean, who the hell wants to look at me? But in my head, everybody's looking at me. Everybody's judging me. Everybody's thinking, who's that? Why, his beard looks wonky, whatever. And I couldn't get that out of my head. Possibly stems back, and you can probably relate to this, Malcolm, when you're younger and you're tall, you're standing in a pub, a busy pub, you're standing there, you're the tallest person in the room, you're looking around casually, you catch somebody's eye, you catch the wrong person's eye. Who are you looking at? What's your problem, mate? I wasn't looking at you. I was just looking around. But before you know it, there's fists flying and it's not good. And you're always that target. And then if there's somebody who fancies himself because you're a big guy, they want to prove themselves. So they go for the biggest guy in the room. And it just got me into so much trouble. And I was a bit of a hothead when I was younger anyway. So I probably didn't help myself in that score. But I don't know if it stems from that, the fact that I'd always been this, and I was quite loud and bolshy when I was younger, and always wanted to make people laugh and all this kind of stuff. So I was always drawing the attention to me, and then suddenly I found that I didn't want that attention anymore. And as much as I wasn't attracting anymore, I felt like I was, and it just basically just had me closing in on myself, which is why this medium was brilliant, because I could just turn my overhead camera on, so all you could see was my bench. I didn't have to worry about sort my beard out, shaving my head, whatever. I was just chatting, and it was getting the social without having to worry about the personal interaction. And that was enough for a long time. And then I was convinced to come down to Telford, and I honestly didn't think I was going to manage it. I didn't think, and I still to this day, I would never go. I tried the last time I went. I tried to go out for a meal with some people. Couldn't do it. No, I couldn't do that. It was too much, too noisy, too loud, too many questions being asked. And no, get out. I still don't think I could do it now. But walking around that place with literally thousands of people in there, a fair few people know me because I've done all this kind of stuff before. And as you know, when you do YouTube and stuff, they know you, but you don't know them. But there's a constant stream of apparent strangers coming up to me, shaking my hand. Oh, mate, it's really good to see you, blah, blah, blah. And some days it's like every sort of 10 minutes, somebody else is coming up and saying hello. And I suddenly found that I was all right with that. I'm all right with it. I'm cool. And I even like, yeah, and who are you? Oh, yeah, I'm Bill. I speak to you on the thing. All right, yeah. And how that was okay to be in that noise and that Ferrari, I don't understand. But I think it's maybe because at any time I can just walk out. I can just go outside and go for a walk to the shopping centre or whatever. I can just get away if I really need to. Not that I've ever really had to, but it's there if I need to.
What was it you said to me for this year just gone past? Yeah. You remember? Do you remember what you said to me? So I don't mind sharing this. So I spoke to Graeme not long after I came out of hospital from not being well. And I already suffer from anxiety and depression, etc. It's a known thing. But the scenario with not being well and the changes that I've gone through and all the stuff, I was really, really anxious about going to Telford. Really, really anxious. Almost to the point where I didn't want to go because I didn't think I could cope. But one of the reasons I went was because I was with a group of guys, and a lovely young lady, who we've been building up to this thing all year, because we shared an Airbnb, and then obviously I'm going to the family of Models for Heroes, and the friends that I've got there, the friends from Models for Heroes got there, and obviously Malcolm as well. Malcolm always shields me because he stands above me, and I just shuffle along in his ankles. So I'm pretty sheltered, but I was really quite getting anxious about it, and I talked to Malcolm, not to Malcolm. God, I can't believe I did that. Alan. I spoke to Graeme and basically said to him, "Look, I hope you don't mind me asking, but any advice?" And what was the advice you gave me? You remember?
It was probably something similar to that. Just remember, you can always walk away. You can always walk outside.
No, it was a lot shorter sentence. It was just know where your exits are. That's all he said. Just know where your exits are. And I was like, what are you on about? I know where the exit is. But it reminded me that actually, I don't have to be in that environment. I can walk out if I wish to. Now, the biggest thing for me in previous years, which I didn't tell you this, and it's because it's only sort of resonated with me recently, is that I've always used that same process because I smoked. So I went out for a fag. And if I was really, really stressed, I go out lots of times. But obviously I've stopped smoking because of my health. I haven't got that ability to go, or excuse to go out. And that, I think, was what was making me feel so anxious, was the fact that I knew where the exits were, but I didn't have a reason to leave. So, yeah.
Well, you had a reason to leave, but you didn't have a socially acceptable reason to leave. People generally
smoking isn't socially acceptable in most cases.
Sure, but
that's really interesting that you word it like that, though, isn't it? That's the phrase that's the issue. A lot of people are still. I will now say, look, I need to get out. I need to get out. Yeah. In fact, when I tried to go out for a meal with all the guys at Telford, it was our friend Nigel Kelsall that was with me. He was on the table with us, and there was it was supposed to be one of these. It was going to be small numbers, and then suddenly there's like, oh, we'll come with you, and before you know it, there's 20 people. They can't fit us all around the table. There's people wondering how they're going to pay for it, how we're going to split the bill, or what everybody's going to order, the menu, the music was blaring, there was more people coming in, and I just started spinning. And I remember just looking up, and Nigel looked at me across the table, and he went, "You want to get out?" And I went, "Yeah." And he said, "Come on now." And he walked me outside, and he stood outside of me in the freezing cold for about 10 minutes. And I was starting to like hyperventilate a little bit, and I was getting a bit panicky. And he just stood there and he just talked to me, just chatted about any old stuff. And he went, "Anyway, how are you feeling? Are you going home or are you coming back in?" And I went, "No, I've got to go, mate." And he said, "Right, no worries. I'll see you in the morning." He said, "I'll let everybody know you're gone." And that was it. And he just literally pulled me out of the situation before, and he spotted it. He knew what was happening straight away, bless him. He knew, and he just he dealt with it, and he understood. And I don't think he's ever had that same issue. He might have, I don't know. He's never divulged that to me to that degree, but it was just that. And it was a weird thing because I was there with loads of people who I know really well and I respect and I get on with, and they're all mates. But I couldn't stand to be with them, not because of who they are or what they are, just because of the environment they were in. And yet it took an act of friendship from somebody else, not somebody else. He was somebody was there to acknowledge the problem and to just deal with it in the swiftest and most gentle way possible. And it was a good little moment. So I just buggered off back to my Airbnb on my own and sat there with a McDonald's, feeling all sad and sorry for myself and wishing I'd just driven home in the first place and not spent 80 quid on a shed in somebody's garden, which is literally what I was saying. It was almost like coming home. Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing. I know I can walk out if I need to. And as much as it gets busy, and you always say whenever I'm coming down, if it gets too much for you, always come to the Models for Hero stand. And I do. I don't make a deal of it. I don't go and say, "Oh, can I come and sit down?" But I do kind of drift past and just have a chat, have a look and see what's happening. And it's one of those, and especially Sunday morning.
Yes.
Let's not talk about Sunday mornings because it gets me all teary.
Yeah. That's another podcast, maybe.
Yeah, it definitely is. But yeah, there's always that sanctuary to go to.
Absolutely.
Without any question. And that's probably the most important thing. Because and I watch people, not just myself, but I see other people rocking up there, and there's never a, "Oh, what's the matter?" It's just like, "Yeah, come in, sit down. What do you want? Do you want to chat? Do you want a hug? Do you want a coffee? Do you want to buy a hat? What do you want to do?" There's no pressure, there's no question. It's just lovely.
Yeah. What models do you make? What common ground do we have? Then it's quite easy to have common ground.
It really is. It really is. But yeah, the job thing, this is the bizarrest thing in the world. So, not long after, it was in the very early days of Models for Heroes, I think, when I started doing that group up in Chesterfield.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I sort of said to Malcolm, obviously I'm a veteran, although I don't like that term for me personally, but that's another one. I've got mental health problems and I build models and I've experienced the benefits and all the rest of it. So this is right up my street. I want to get involved. What do I do? So I ended up starting this modeling group. And there was a guy popped up on the Facebook page and sort of said, do you need any help? Well, I didn't know this guy from Adam, but he was a modeler. And I said, well, yeah, hooked him up with Malcolm. He got in touch with Malcolm. He came along to the session, sat with me and started helping me to help the beneficiaries. Speaking to him, turns out he's ex-Royal Air Force, same as me. And he'd had some similar issues to me. And I was a mechanic in the RAF. He worked as a fitter on locomotives. And he said he got a bit about my story. And I said I was struggling to get employment because one of the things that I couldn't do was fill out an application form for a job. I had tried filling out, even like to go to Tesco's on the night shift doing this shelf stacking and stuff. I would get halfway through the application form filling, and I kid you not, I'd be sitting on the floor over there, literally sobbing like a baby. I just couldn't do it, and it was frustrating me so much. I just couldn't put basic details down on a form. It was horrible. And I'd actually been declared by the Department of Work and Pensions. I've been declared unfit for work through mental health. They'd actually written me off. So anyway, Andy sort of sat there with me and he said, I can get you a job, we need fitters. And I was like, I'm not a fitter, I'm a mechanic. I'm not that highly qualified. And he's like, no, we can get you a job. We need people. We can get you a job. And I was like, I can't come for an interview, mate. I can't do it. Anyway, every week he would come and he was brilliant with all the beneficiaries. He was really good, including me. And he'd be sitting there in my ear like that. I can get you a job. I can get you a job. Not in an oppressive way, but, in a friendly, nice way. And eventually I spoke to Nick about it and I said, look, Andy keeps telling me he can get me a job. And she said, well, go for it. And I said, I can't. And I had the kids to think about because I was still doing the before and after school, the school runs and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
He said, well, can you not get something part-time there? So I said, well, look, I can ask the question. So I got all of them. I said, look, I want to do something, but I can't commit to a full-time job. I'm scared for a start. But maybe I could do something just part-time, but nothing serious. Let me just come as a labourer, fitter's mate type thing. Can I do that? Let me ask the question. Within an hour, he was back on the phone and said, yeah, come and see my gaffer on Monday morning or something. and he wasn't going to let me go. It was literally that quick.
He'd hooked you.
Yeah, he's a bit like James. And he, before I know it, I was driving up to this loco shed. I didn't know what a locomotive was. I would have called it a train. I've never been into trains. I've ridden on trains a few times, usually drunk, but I didn't know anything about them. And I just sort of went along and thought, well, nothing to lose. Met the guy who was his boss at the time. Lovely bloke. I've worked with him ever since. He only retired in April of last year. Still kind of in touch with him. Lovely fella. Went in, met him. Big, huge character of a man. Big, strong handshake and big belly laugh and this kind of thing. And I walked into this workshop. Massive engines. If anybody's ever seen a loco engine, they're huge. They're bigger than most cars. They're massive things. Huge, ginormous things. And I was just blown away because I'd worked in workshop environments in the RAF, and this was just something on another level. Anyway, I had a walk around, had a chat, and Phil said, "Look, I need somebody as a fitter's mate, general help around here. What do you want to do?" And I said, "Look, I can do 4 hours a day." Right, let's do that then. So that's what I did.
Right.
I was in that place for about 2 weeks, and then the owner of the company had just bought a whole depot. That was only one shed, but he bought a whole depot that was derelict, and he needed some stuff clearing out. And he phoned my workshop foreman and said, "Any chance you can send Graeme down to the depot next week just to clear some stuff for me?" And I went down on the Monday morning. I spent a week clearing some rubbish and some weeds and stuff like that. And there was nobody else there. There was just me. He handed me the keys to this massive railway depot, and I was in there on my own. And then on the Friday, he just said, "Are you coming back next week?" I said, "Well, do you want me back here next week?" And I've never been anywhere else. I've literally gone back, and I went from doing 4 hours a day labouring up to learning to shunt, learning to drive, and now I run the place. I say I run the place. I run the sort of shunting and all the operations in the yard. And it's just been 6 years of just an amazing journey. Yeah. And it's all because I came in and started building models and it turned my life around massively. And sorry, that's a long drawn out, long-winded story, but this hobby has done that for me. And I mean, I don't have many friends. I've got some people who I consider to be, good friends who I see on a regular basis. But I don't have a massive circle of friends because I've been an antisocial bugger for the last 20 years. And I've made so many friends through this hobby, and I'm making more all the time. I mean, even just the last week, I've met people that I've never spoken to before, and I seem to get on all right with them. I certainly would be quite happy to have a chat with them at Telford, go for a beer or a coffee, whatever. And it's all down to this hobby.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is. It's absolutely fantastic. It really is. I can't tell people enough how much, and not just modeling, we've talked about this before, any craft, anything that you can do, but obviously for me it's chucking plastic and stuff together is what tickles me pickle. But that's the story. I would like to say in a nutshell, but I've just used half your show on that, but I'm sorry. That is,
no, it's good.
I've told that story, and I've done quite a few interviews and stuff like this before, and that sounds quite arrogant, doesn't it? But no, I don't mean it like that. But I have told the story several times before, and I never get bored of telling it because I'm so passionate about it. Because if it can do it for me, it can do it for anybody. Just go and buy an Airfix kit and stick it together. Honestly, turn your life around.
You need to build that. You need to build that depot that you first walked into. You would build that train that you saw that made you go, bloody hell, it's somewhere else. Yeah. Wouldn't that be a thing to have a story on your shelf that encompassed this whole thing?
It would.
Build one of those.
Who builds good workshop? Spencer Pollard. He's done some awesome workshop dioramas, hasn't he? He really does. Yeah. Smash them out.
But I mean, it could be N-gauge. It could be a little tiny thing.
It could. Which, if that's 1/148, that 1/144 is going to be damn close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you're not.
But then again, I've seen James's little man and little figures.
What?
That's a completely different podcast. I'll have you know, Graeme.
No. Just to clarify that quickly, James showed me some 1/144 scale figures the other day, and they were tiny. They were minute.
Yeah, it was a little man. You're quite right. I only showed you my little man.
You did.
They're so small, it has to have its own cage just to make sure it doesn't get broken. But for those of you not watching in Technicolor, Graeme has just turned the same shade as his top. So, but that's cool.
Yeah, my jumbo jet with a shuttle on the top was N-gauge, and that was all loads of people. That was all 1/44 scale. Sorry, but the people were N-gauge, and the jumbo jet was 1/44, and it worked fine. The people could be standing on the steps. It was fine.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe just a suggestion. But I can imagine you having that as a story, a piece to describe a story, like we started off this podcast. That's how you could do it. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
See, I think. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Malcolm that Graeme has got already far too many hooks in his gob at the moment, and you just laid another one. But I was just thinking that was actually a really, really good idea to do that shed. I think that's a fantastic idea. And I'd also would say to you, as we wrap up, your model that you did, not the Stuka, the other one, I wouldn't throw that in the bin if I was you. I would put that on a picture frame with the words "one piece at a time" under it. and just stick up on your wall to remind you.
I know your exits.
There we go.
There's a podcast title for you.
There you go. Indeed. So we've been chatting for ages, which we could carry on doing.
Sorry.
No. It's great. This is what we three are like when we get together. So it's totally expected from us. Probably not from those that are listening. So sorry, but we've been talking for an hour and 50 minutes.
Well, they've got the benefit of a pause button and a volume button and a stop button and a delete button. So
do you know what? One of the criticisms that we got for when we did our podcast was because we used to do great big long things like 2 hours and more. And a lot of people say, "Oh, it's too long," and we're like, "Well, no, just listen to it in sections. Just hit the pause button, come back to it later." So if you're driving to work, listen to 10 minutes on the way to work, 10 minutes on the way back, and within a week, you've probably got halfway through.
Right? Yeah.
That's how because my commute to work is only about 15 minutes, so I never get to listen to a full podcast in one go. I do them in sections, and that was something that because we did think, should we cut it down? We were just like, no, let's just. People learn, and I think now people are more used to that.
Well, also software will come back to where you paused it.
Yeah,
halfway through.
Exactly.
I mean, people don't generally listen to long podcasts anyway. My experience was that people would listen to short ones because their commute would be a half an hour or something, and then that would work for them. There's a guy we used to talk to who said that our podcasts were like 48 minutes or so, and he knew that when the music came on at the end, he knew that he was about to get to work, and usually be pulling into the car park once we've finished. Well, not for this one. This one's gonna be a much longer one, but that's fine. It is what it is. We don't sit there and plan to minute to minute. If it turns out to be a long one, then great. If it turns out to be a short one, then great.
No, I know when I've a couple of the other shows that I've been on, and I always said it myself when I was interviewing people for the shows that I've done. I would much rather hear people talking than just sitting there giving one-word answers, because that doesn't make good radio. You need to.
That's not the idea of an interview, is it? If you want to do an interview where you go, well, I can ask you this question, and I'd like you to answer it in syllables, please. Yeah, it's not really an interview. So, let's not worry about that. That is a good segue for us to wrap things up. It's been an absolute joy to spend time with you. It's great to see you back at the bench and enthused. Long it may last. But you are an inspiration to many and have been for many years, but also now I think you should be an inspiration to yourself and allow yourself the flexibility to do what you want to do and how you want to do it without getting too stressed over it. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute privilege. Malcolm, is there anything you want to say to wrap things up on your side?
No, it's brilliant seeing you back, seeing you smiling. It's good.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a good thing, and it's a pleasure to spend some time with you two, as always.
Of course, you lucky thing. Do we have any admin stuff we need to go through? Any comments we need to talk about? Or
there is actually just one thing. Actually, yes, you reminded me. The last question that I wanted to just put to you both. He says, now moving his mouse and getting completely away from what he was lined up to do, you pillock. So we did have a comment from Frank Blankton. He said he loves the podcast, and this was on the Facebook page. Sorry. He said this is when I changed the cover picture to the Facebook page. He said, I love the podcast. Need to know more about biscuits, what you call cookies. Are digestives or cakes? How many times flavors or your favorites are there? This was quite interesting because I read it and thought, oh, well, they're not cakes. Digestives are not cakes, and that's a whole podcast in itself.
But they're not cookies either.
No. But he was quickly interjected by Justin, who beat me to it, who explained to him that us Brits had things
In all
biscuits,
caps.
basically. We should, yeah, all caps. Ignore those Brits. They're basically cookies, but he said he'd spent 40 or 30 or 40 bucks on a box of biscuits, effectively, and he was busily munching his way through ginger nuts.
Oh,
Okay.
Which I thought
there's an
was
underrated biscuit.
oh God. We can delete that bit. Yeah.
No,
Yeah, we can edit that out. That's fine. Never mind. That was a good podcast, and then he ruined it right at the end.
Justice
Yeah,
for
right,
ginger nuts.
Just,
It's
well.
not a flavour that hobnobs have done, is it? Ginger
No,
hobnobs.
it's not. But
No.
sometimes
So-
you want something a bit stiffer, and gingerier.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. It's not often I'm lost for words.
No, we do like our biscuits on this podcast. There was also a comment about whether biscuits are made with the sprue as well. I think that was on that.
Yes.
Basically. Yeah, whether they were made on the sprue, and they're not. They're just cut out of a big sheet of.
No, what was saying was, wouldn't it be good if they were on a sprue and they come as a kit? Which at first I didn't quite understood, because I'm like, well, why would you want to make you? I mean, that'd be like.
Oh no, we had this discussion before. So you get your biscuit.
We did. Yeah.
We have a hobnob, and then you have milk chocolate hobnobs, dark chocolate hobnobs, white chocolate hobnobs, right? What if you got your hobnob and you put a square of Cadbury's chocolate on top of it and microwaved it a little bit, and you had your own kind of aftermarket chocolate to put on your hobnob? Then we talked about this before on the podcast. I'm sure we did.
We did. Yeah.
So yes, yeah, that'd be quite good to have a biscuit on a sprue.
So the question, there was a question in amongst all of these things that we were talking about, because obviously biscuits and hobnobs are talked about, and obviously you've now alluded to being a ginger nut fan, which is a bit disappointing.
It's fine. We can change that over time.
Not something I've imbibed in a long time, but now that you've said it, I think I need to rush out and buy some ginger nuts. I'm actually wondering if the co-op's still open. Seriously.
Honestly.
Well, you do that, and then you'll be really disappointed, and then you'll go back to knowing that hobnobs are there.
What I was actually going to ask you was, what's the weirdest thing you've ever done with a biscuit?
Oh my God, no.